Yes, it's John G. Sutton here. Tales from the jails. Yeah, I want to talk today about what's going to happen immediately this summer in the prisons. Because I'm just going to tell you what I feel is going to happen. I'm not promoting this. I think it's a disgrace the way it's happening. But the way they're treating prisoners at the moment, 23 hours a day, locked up in the cells, and it's going to be 40 degrees in London. Wormwood Scrubs is going to be absolutely roasting, and it's banged up in there, 2 to a cell, 3 to a cell, overcrowded, and I've seen it happen before. I was at the Scrubs in London in the previous hottest summer on record, which was 1976, when I was on Sea Wing at the Scrubs, and it was torture. You know, we did have a bit. I mean, I was on the C2 landing, which is the biggest landing in Europe, and we did our best to try and make sure that the inmates were reasonably comfortable, despite what you might hear about the violence and the abuse of staff against inmates. Occasionally, you know, you've got to behave, but with a great deal of empathy. And I did try and empathise with the prisoners who were being locked up in those conditions, in high temperatures, and it was really, really hot. And they actually, believe this or not, I mean, not many people may tell you this, but they actually got ice cream, you know, like blocks of ice cream, and they served the inmates the ice cream around the cells. I know, I took them round. It was proper ice cream, vanilla ice cream, you know, and but that's the Scrubs. And at that time, I mean, all right, it was a violent place, but there were certain members of staff that were attempting reasonably to make it habitable. And don't forget, it's in the best interests of the staff to keep the inmates reasonably content. Because if they're discontented, then you're going to end up with what I feel could very well happen in the next week, the next week or two, and that's disruption, unrest in the prisons, because the inmates are going to be extremely hot. They're being locked up 23 hours a day. Now, you're out there, dear people, you're watching this, you know how hot it can get. And if you're locked up in a cell with 2 or 3 other people that you don't know, yeah, you've never met them before, complete strangers, it's incredibly hot. You're going to get, tempers are going to get frayed, and there's going to be trouble. And I believe that there may very well be civil unrest, yeah, this coming week or two. Not only in the jails, but on the streets, because people are getting seriously brassed with the way that prices are rising and wages ain't going anywhere. There's already talk about there being a general strike. I believe there may very well be. I mean, if we've got train drivers who are striking and they're on £50,000 a year, what about the prison staff who are on £23,000 a year? The difference is that one's got a trade union and the other one's got the Prison Officers Association. Yeah, about as much loose as a wet lettuce. About as good as a chocolate fire guard. Yeah, what point has there been? I mean, they've presided over the demise of a career. It used to be a career. Back in the 60s and 70s, you joined the prison service, you were pleased to do service for the government. Now they've got privatised prisons, people working on minimum wages. Minimum wages. This is supposed to be a career. And what's happened to the pensions? The pensions have all been disrupted. They're not there anymore. When I joined, the pension rate was, if you worked all the way through, you got possibly 50% of your wage. Your final salary, it was final salary, 50% of your wage paid as a pension, and that was index linked into infinity and beyond. Not anymore. I know staff that have done 10, 11, 12 years, come out of the service having been physically injured or mentally incapacitated or psychologically broken down, who've had to medically retire. They get no pension. No pension. What's that? How's that? How are they supposed to cope? I mean, the service has absolutely destroyed them. Mark my words, this next 14 days, with the heat that's coming, there's going to be some kind of unrest. I mean, I've seen it before. Rooftop protests, yeah. Sit downs on the yard, that was a big favourite. Way back in the 70s, you get all the inmates sat down on the yard. They won't get up. So then what do you do? Let me tell you this. I've seen it at the Scrubs. One weekend they had them sat down. You get 400, 500 inmates sat down on the yard, and you've got half a dozen staff. What are you going to do? How are you going to get them in? Huh. Let me tell you this. One thing you're not going to do, if you've got any sense, is go and get hold of the nearest one and drag him in, because you'll get buried in a mound of bodies. You ain't going to do that. Believe me. But something like this is going to occur. I mean, if they don't make provisions for the inmates who have been locked up 23 hours a day. I told you the other day about this, but prisons 22.5 was the average number of hours spent behind the doors. What kind of that? Norman Brown coined the phrase, it's a human warehouse. Yeah, it's worse than a human warehouse at the moment. It's a human oven, yeah. They're going to be cooking this next 10 days. And believe me, you can only boil so many frogs. And they're gonna get you in the end. Listen, mark my words, yeah, there's going to be some kind of disturbance concerning the heat that's going down. And if you've never been locked in a cell like that, it's like being in a bloody oven, yeah? Bad enough on the landings. I mean, that's the problem with these big old Victorian buildings. When they're cold, they're very, very cold. And when they're hot, they're unbearable. I've been there. And they're huge places. I mean, I don't know what the modern prisons. I've not been unfortunate enough to be in the modern prisons, and goodness me, I hope I never will be. But certainly places like the Scrubs, Walton Jail, Strangeways, great big places, crammed to bursting point by a government that wants to imprison people for not paying their television license. Yeah, I've seen people locked up for that. Yeah, locked into prisons like Strangeways, not paying the TV license. You tell me, yeah, is it the government's duty to entertain me? Is it my responsibility to pay Gary Lineker £1.5 million a year to stuff his face with bloody Walker's crisps? Yeah, that's on top of his salary, by the way. And I don't particularly find Graham Norton amusing. I mean, I'm sure that there are people that do, and it's just a matter of personal taste. But there's shut that door. Something I'm not quite sure about that boy. You know, and why it should be a criminal offence for me not to pay his wages. Me, an old age pensioner, a guy that I donned uniform and carried a gun for this country. Yeah. I served in the prison service for this country to maintain good order and discipline. And now what do they want me to do? They're taxing me and making me pay, I don't know, was it £150 a year, something like that, all for the joy of watching. Shut that door. I'm telling you, there's gonna be trouble. I'm as mad as an ant. I can't take it anymore. Have you seen that film? Network? I highly recommend it. Anyway, I've had a request. I'm just going to take a little drink of milk. Milk. And yes, I've got to warn you all, it might be coming that time. Here we are. The Song Dinger. So if you're hanging around after the warning bell has been sound, that's entirely up to you. I am now going to, somebody's made a request, yeah? Made a specific request for me to do a certain song by Johnny Cash. I'm not sure that I can do it particularly well, but I'll give it what I've got. It's called The Mercy Seat. I hope you're sitting comfortably. This is quite a difficult song to do, I believe. You know, I've had a look at it. I don't know the song particularly well, but I'm going to give it what I've got. The Mercy Seat by Johnny Cash. It all began when they took me from my home and put me on death row, a crime for which I'm totally innocent, you know. I began to warm and chill to objects and their fields, a ragged cup, a twisted mop, the face of Jesus in my soup, those sinister dinner deals, the meal trolley's wicked wheels, a hooked bone rising from my food, all things either good or ungood, and the mercy seat is waiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this weighing of the truth, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth, and I'm not afraid to die. I hear stories from the chamber. Christ was born into a manger, and like some ragged stranger, he died upon the cross. Might I say, it seems so fitting in its way. He was a carpenter by trade, or at least that's what I'm told. My kill hands tattooed evil across its brother's fist. That filthy five, they did nothing to challenge or resist. In heaven his throne is made of gold, the Ark of Testament is stowed, a throne from which I'm told all history does unfold. It's made of wood and wire, and my body is on fire, and God is never far away. Into the mercy seat I climb, my head is shaved, my head is wired, and like a moth that tries to enter the bright eye, I go shuffling out of life, just to hide in death a while, and anyway, I never lied. And the mercy seat is waiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this weighing of the truth, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth, and I'm not afraid to die. And the mercy seat is burning, and I think my head is glowing, and in a way I'm hoping to be done with all this twisting of the truth, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and anyway there was no proof, and I'm not afraid to die. And the mercy seat is glowing, and I think my head is smoking, and in a way I'm hoping to be done with all these looks of disbelief, a life for a life, a truth for a truth, and I've got nothing left to lose, and I'm not afraid to die. And the mercy seat is smoking, and I think my head is melting, and in a way that's helping to be done with all this twisting of the truth, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth, but I'm afraid I told a lie. There you go. The Mercy Seat by Johnny Cash. Tales from the Jails. I hope you subscribed. I hope you like that. I give it my best shot. See you soon.